So this nitrogen fixing bacteria, whether it is your whether it is your free living bacteria or if it is a symbiotic bacteria, both have the switches to regulate the genes. Okay, they can turn on and off the proteins needed for nitrogen fixation. So the NIF genes can be found. Now, what did we tell about the NIF genes? We told they are the nitrogen fixing the genes. So the NIF genes can be found on the bacterial chromosomes. Okay, if this is a bacteria, you know that this thread-like structure, that is the bacterial chromosome. So your NIF genes can be found on this bacterial chromosome, or particularly in symbiotic bacteria, they are found on the bacterial plasmid here. It is called as the symplasmid. So either it can be found on the bacterial chromosome, or in symbiotic microorganism, it is found in the plasmid and it is called as the symplasmid. So this bacterial plasmid with other genes related to nitrogen fixation, such as the genes which are needed to communicate between the bacteria and the host plant, okay, those genes are also present. So if a bacteria wants to communicate to a plant, okay, that there is a particular gene which is known as the NOD gene, which results in the nodule formation, which we shall see later on. So all nitrogen fixing bacteria can turn on and off the proteins needed for nitrogen fixation. The NIF gene can be found on the bacterial chromosome, but in symbiotic bacteria, they are found on the bacteria's plasmids, along with other genes related to the nitrogen fixation, such as the genes needed for the bacteria to communicate with the host plant, and that is called as the NOD genes. Now this nitrogen fixation, I told you that it is a very expensive reaction. So like when you studied cell metabolism in our body, you also studied what is known as regulation. Your body will simply not keep producing your ATP or other products until it is needed. What I mean to tell is, now if a metabolism is happening in the body, it will not stop off. Okay, it will allow it to go slowly, or when a particular metabolite is absent in the body, then it will tell the reaction, you take a speed up of the reaction. Similarly, here also you will see that nitrogen fixation requires a great deal of energy. So if the conditions are not favorable for the nitrogen fixation, or there is enough ammonia around, nitrogen fixing bacteria will turn off the production of the proteins. What does it mean? It means that if the condition is favorable for the, when the conditions are not favorable for the nitrogen fixation, or if there is enough amount of ammonia, we told you it is a product of nitrogen fixation. Your nitrogen gets converted, or your nitrogen fixes the atmospheric nitrogen in the form of ammonia. If sufficient ammonia is present, then what does this nitrogen fixation bacteria will do? It will turn off the proteins. It will switch off the proteins. Why? Because the conditions are not favorable for fixing. Otherwise, what is happening? Enough ammonia is there already in the cycle, which can get converted into your nitrate and nitrate, which your plants can use. Then why should I run the nitrogen cycle simply? And that is the meaning. Next, you will see that nitrogen fixing protein production is regulated by nifregulon. Okay, so this nitrogen fixing proteins, whatever they are produced, they are controlled by a nifregulon. What is this regulon? What do we mean by regulon? Means See, we'll be having a group of genes. For example, I'll just put this is one gene. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is a group of gene that is regulated. All these genes are regulated by a regulatory molecule. For example, this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 genes. So many genes are present, but they are all under the control of the same regulatory molecule. So these genes share a common regulatory element. That is your binding site or promoter of all this is the same. This is known as NIF regulon. So the NIF regulon contains factors which can both turn on and off the production of proteins needed for the nitrogen fixation. So I have so many NIF genes. Okay, like 17 NIF genes, something is present there. Some of the functions of this NIF genes are still not known. Okay, whatever may be your number of NIF gene present, but they are all regulated by one NIF regulon. That is the meaning of this. So your nitrogen fixation is regulated, as we said earlier, it is regulated by the NIF gene, and which is a set of 7 operons. Now another word what you have to remember, which is new to you all, is the operon. What is a operon means? It is a genetic material that function in a coordinated manner. See, we operon, this one, okay, this operon will be having a promoter gene, it will have an operator gene, okay, and it will have a structural genes. So a genetic material that functions in coordinated manner, all this, whether it is your operator gene, your promoter gene, or structural genes, they will be acting together in a coordinated manner. There is coordination between them, okay, and also they will be transcribed together. So this is called as operons. So don't get confusion between the regulons and the operons. Okay, regulons means they are regulatory genes or regulon molecules which are controlling your regulatory genes, telling that you switch on and switch off. Operon means these are the genes which are required for your operation of the genes, promoting the genes, and if any structural genes changes are necessary, it is made by this. So there are 7 operons which include 17 NIF genes. So the plant nitrogenase enzyme will be having 17 NIF genes, and some of the example we have provided here, like AD, KL, YWZ. Okay. So when there isn't enough fixed nitrogen available for the plant use, that is, when the nitrogen, there is no sufficient amount of nitrogen for the plant, what it tells is the plants send a signal telling that, okay, I don't have sufficient amount of nitrogen which is present. So somehow I need the nitrogen to be fixed. So always what happens, there are some bacteria inside your plant, symbiotic bacteria, which will sense these signals, or non-living free, non-symbiotic microorganisms which are present outside the plant, but near the surfaces of the plant, in the rhizosphere. So they can sense what this plant requires. So when there isn't enough fixed nitrogen available, okay, there is no nitrogen or less amount of nitrogen available for the plant use, then what happens is there is a polymerase. What polymerase? It is an RNA polymerase. What is the name of that RNA polymerase? Is NTRC. Okay, so what does this RNA polymerase NTRC do is it will go and it will trigger NIF-A genes. So it is going here and it is going to trigger your NIF-A genes. So the NIF-A gets expressed. So the NIF-A then activates the rest of the transcription of the NIF genes. I told they are under the single regulon control. So what happens? All these are genes, okay, and they are controlled by a single regulon molecule. So now what does this RNA polymerase do? That is this NTRC. It is a gene or the RNA polymerase. What it will go and do is it will tell, see, there is no nitrogen fixed in the plant. What we have to do is we should fix the nitrogen. So who is responsible for this expression? It is the NIF-A. So this RNA polymerase is sending the messages to the NIF-A, you become active. Okay, this NIF-A will tell that, okay, I am expressed. Now what shall I do is, I'll go and activate all other genes which are necessary for the nitrogen fixation. So if there is sufficient amount of reduced nitrogen or oxygen is present, okay, another protein called known as NIF-L. What it will do is, it is going to inhibit your NIF-A. What it means to tell is, suppose this situation happened when there was no fixed nitrogen. Okay, there was less ammonia present inside your plant. But suppose you have sufficient, the plant is having sufficient ammonia. Once the ammonia is present, automatically these are all getting converted into nitrate and nitrate by your bacteria. So what happens if there is sufficient amount of reduced nitrogen? What is a reduced nitrogen means? It is NH3. Okay, your dinitrogen, which is N2, is getting reduced to NH3. So if there is reduced nitrogen or oxygen present also, it indicates, we told that yesterday example, what nitrogenase does not, what it immediately gets destroyed by oxygen. So this all are indicator telling that we are sufficient amount of ammonia is present. So we don't need the nitrogen fixation. So when you don't need a nitrogen fixation, there is another gene called as a NIF-L. So this NIF-L, what it goes and does is, it is going to go and inhibit your NIF-A. So your NIF-L will go and inhibit the NIF-A, telling that stop your activity. You no need for you to express more, because we already had the backup, the nitrogen cycle. So what happens is, it results in the inhibition of the nitrogenase formation. So your nitrogenase, what happens? It's for a moment, it just shut down. Okay. So NIF-L is then regulated by other proteins that are sensors for the levels of oxygen and ammonia in the surrounding environment. It is the same meaning what I told you. So when there is sufficient amount of ammonia and oxygen, it is inhibiting the nitrogenase, telling that don't proceed with the reaction. We have all sufficient amount for the plant to survive. On the other hand, if your nitrogen, fixed nitrogen is less, then what happens? Your NTRC polymerase, RNA polymerase, it immediately tells your NIF-A genes, we are running short of ammonia. So you kindly express. When this NIF-A expresses, it will trigger all your other genes, and thus it is activating your nitrogenase enzyme. Once the nitrogenase enzyme is activated, you all know that your nitrogen is going to receive an electron, and then it is going to get reduced to ammonia and dihydrogen. Yesterday you all saw that. So next, this is about the NIF gene. We have one more gene which is known as the NOD gene. That is, NOD gene means which are required for the formation of the nodules. So here you can see that one, I have written it in the capital. N is written in the capital. In another one, it is in the short form. So we'll see, first we'll see the difference between these two. Genes specific to nodules in the plant are called as nodule genes. Okay, genes which are specific to nodules in the plant are called. Where are the nodules formed? You all know it is formed in the plant and you have seen that. And that gene is called as the nod gene. So the genes that participate in the nodule formation in rhizobium are called as the nodulation gene. That is, in the rhizobium also, in your microorganism also, there is gene which are involved in the participation of the nodule formation. Those are represented in this form, small n, okay? These are nod genes. So, in your plant has a capacity to form nodules only when these genes, the genes of the rhizobium, participate in the nodule formation. So the nod genes are classified as common nod genes or host-specific nod genes. So we have some common nod genes. These common nod genes are ABC. Always remember this as a CSIR questions one, it had come. Which are the common nod genes? Your common nod genes are ABC. Okay. On the other hand, we have other nod genes which are like P, Q, H, F, E, L. These are all host specific nod genes. Who's your host? My host is the plant. So, of all the nod genes, nod gene D regulates the function of the other nod genes. It is consecutively expressed as a protein nod D. Okay, I have nod A, B, C, which are the common nod genes, and I also have host specific nod genes, like whatever we have mentioned there. But what is the nod gene which is doing all the expression is your nod D genes. Hope there is no confusion. Just go through the definition. Gene specifics to nodules in the plant are called as nodulin. Okay. Genes that participate in this formation of this nodulin are called as the nod genes, or the formation of nodules are called as the nod genes. So there are different types of nod genes. Of this, mostly commonly they have asked in most of the competitive exam, which is the common nod genes which are present in your rhizobium is nod A, B, and C. And remember, nod D gene regulates the functions of other nod genes. So it is acting as a leader, this nod D. It sees to that the functions of the other nod genes are expressed properly. They do their duties properly. Coming to the last section. So what did all we study? We studied how the nitrogen is getting fixed, why it is getting fixed, though there is 78% of nitrogen. Why it is getting fixed means because it is not able to break the triple bond. We saw that. And who's coming to our rescue? We saw that it is our bacteria which are coming to our rescue to fix the nitrogen. And why this nitrogen is fixed? Because the bacteria is having the enzyme nitrogenase, and we saw that how it gets activated. Okay, we saw that iron sulfur nitrogenase part and molybdenum iron sulfur parts. So one is doing the reduction. After reduction, you saw that hydrolysis happens and all the electrons move toward the molybdenum iron sulfur group. Yesterday you all saw that. Okay, and then what happens? The electrons will enhance the nitrogen, dinitrogen, to get reduced to ammonia. Today, what did you all see? We saw that what are NIF genes? You know that NIF genes are nitrogen fixing genes. Of the nitrogen fixing genes, we saw that NIF A is the one which is involved in the expression of the gene, and NIF L, what it does is it sees to that it suppresses the gene. If sufficient amount of ammonia is there, no need to carry out your reaction and simply waste the ATP. No. Okay. And now we are seeing the nod genes. Nod gene is the main important. See, I go out or you go to any place, okay, do all your duties, and then what, you come back to your house. So that, like that, her house should be there for the microorganism also. So that is the nodule. Okay. So all this function from the day one of nitrogen fixation, what I'm doing till now, it should occur in some particular place. And that place is your nodule. And there are genes which are called as nod genes, which are helping in the formation of nodules in the plant. So both of them are participating. We are specifically speaking about symbiotic organism rhizobium. Please keep that in the mind. The activation of the other organisms are different. So now we'll see that how this rhizobium is getting attracted towards the leguminous plant. Also, kindly please remember there are different type of leguminous plant which are available. That is, different species of leguminous plants are available. Okay, so species 1, 2, 3. Similarly, there are different type of rhizobium species which are available. For example, A, B, C, D. D can only go and form a host with this 4. C only with 3. D only with 2. That shows that they are specific. Okay, you can go only into your house. You just cannot go into others' house like that. Okay, that is what is called, we are telling here as specificity, one-to-one interaction. Second. Okay, the rhizobium, when it gets attracted to the plant, please see the picture A here. When it gets attracted to the plant, that phenomena is known as chemotaxis. You all know that. Chemotaxis. Chemo means chemical attraction. So from where do I am getting this chemical attraction? Who's producing this? This chemical, okay, it is a signal which is produced by the leguminous plant. So there's like, whenever there is less amount of nitrogen present, what it does is it starts, the plant sends a signal. So in your rhizosphere, that is near the surrounding of your root, there are different type of organisms. So some microorganisms which are very specific to this plant, it will sense that signal. Okay, so the first stage in the formation of symbiotic relationship between the nitrogen fixing bacteria and their host is the migration of the bacteria towards the root of the host plant. And this migration is a chemotatic response which is mediated by certain chemicals. What are those chemicals? The chemicals are particularly flavonoids. Okay, flavonoids. So who's producing the flavonoids? It is the plant which is producing the flavonoid. Why it is producing? So that I can attract who? I can attract my rhizobium to come and do the functions, help me. And also along with flavonoids, there is another chemical, betaines also are released. Okay, they are, all these chemicals are secreted by the roots. Now following this chemotaxis, the rhizobium, what it will do is it will go and attach to the root hair of that plant and it releases the nod factors. Okay, the rhizobium has got attracted now towards, it goes near to the root hair of the plant and it secretes what? It secretes the nod factors. It is nod, okay? Nod, NOD, nod. So these attractants, then what they do is they activate which nod gene? This one I told, no, like leader, like it acts. It is going to activate these attractants. These are the attractants, okay? They are going to activate the rhizoidal nod D. Okay, after it has been attracted, what next happened? Then it induces expression of other nod genes which are involved in the synthesis of nod factors. This one we already spoke in this slide. Just go to your previous slide. Okay, this one, see, the NOD gene regulates the function of the other NOD genes. So once your bacteria comes close to your plant root hair, it produces the NOD factor, of which the important is the NOD D. And this NOD D, what it do is it expresses the other NOD genes which are present. Okay, now all the NOD factors are being expressed. Then what happens? So the response of the legume is specific to the NOD factor. Okay, so I told you it is one-to-one interaction. That is what you mean by specificity. Now, how it is bringing about specificity? How only one particular rhizobium is attracted only towards this plant? Okay, the response of the legume is specific to NOD factor, and it is mediated by lectin receptor. There is a receptor called as the lectin receptor. Where is this lectin receptor present? It is present in the root hair. So if this is my root hair, you have the lectin receptors. Now what does the root did? It produced all the chemotactic factors like flavonoids. Now what happened? Those organisms which were there in the soil, it got attracted and it secreted the NOD D factor which activated other genes. Now how these are very specific means this root hair will be having lectin receptors. Okay, so if there is a receptor, only that particular which has a complementary shape can go and fit into this receptor. That is why it is specific. So the lectin activation directs the rhizobium to anchor to the cell wall of the root hair. Now what happens? All the rhizobium, they will go and anchor to the root hair of the plant. Next picture, you see the picture B. So this picture you can see here B. The NOD factors, now what they are doing, this is the root hair. Okay. So the NOD factors, what they are doing is they induce the curling of the root hair, which encloses the rhizobium. So this NOD factors, okay, what they do is now your rhizobium is there, no, it curls them. Okay, it has curled the root hair such that it encloses who? It is enclosing the rhizobium. The cell wall of the root hair, okay, this whatever the cell walls of you're seeing, the cell walls of the root hair degrades. It goes off in the region, allowing the bacterial cell to get a direct access to the plasma membrane. I shall repeat again. So once these steps have all happened, your rhizobium has gone and attached to the root hair of the leguminous plant with the help of the lectin. Where is the lectin present? It is present on the plant root hair, so that they have gone and anchored to it. After it is anchored to it, the NOD factors of the plant, what they do is they will start curling the root hair. So when the root hair is curled like this, what happens? All your rhizobium is inside that curled portion. Okay, and then the cell walls of your root hair, no, they all will degrade, so that your bacteria can have an easy entry into the plasma membrane of the root. Next, what happens? So I'll draw somewhere a picture and show you. Now the plasma membrane. Where is the plasma membrane? It is there in my root. So this plasma membrane, what it will do is it invaginates like this. Okay, and then it diffuses into the Golgi membrane. So this is your plasma membrane, just remember, and this is the Golgi membrane. They diffuse to form the infection thread at the site of the infection. Now what happens? Your root hair has been, your rhizobium has been enclosed in your root hair. The root hair has degraded its cell wall so that your rhizobium can have access to the plasma. This plasma, okay, along. Now this, where is your rhizobium? It has got access into the plasma. So it forms an invagination and then they enclose, diffuse along with the Golgi bodies of the plant. Now they start forming the infection thread. Why? Because your rhizobium is here. Okay, now is the infection thread. This is how. See, they have all entered now. And it has resulted in the infection thread. Now, when this is all happening, student, on the other side, inside your root, what another feature happens? Okay. So this is all happening in your root hair. Okay. What is happening in the root? Actual root, deeper into the root cortex near the xylem. Okay. The cortical cells, the root cortical cells, they start dividing, forming a distinct area within the cortex called as the nodule primordium. It is not written here. Nodule primordium. M-O-R-D-I-U-M. Nodule primordium. Who is forming the nodule primordium? It is the cortex of my root. It is undergoing de-differentiation. It will start dividing and it is going to form this nodule primordium. Okay. What you always mean by primordium is it is the newly formed one. Okay. From which the nodules can develop. That is why it is called as nodule primordium. It is the initial point of your nodule formation. So, just see again this picture only. See, this is your infection thread here. Okay, we have a Golgi vesicles all present here. The infection thread filled with all your proliferating rhizobium. Okay, the rhizobium are multiplying. You know the bacteria always they multiply. They elongate into the root hair, and then where will they go? They will go into the cortical cell layers. So inside the cortical cell layers, who is there? A nodule primordium is present. Who produced the nodule primordium? It was produced by the cortex of the root. It has prepared already so that then what rhizobium infection thread is going to come, it has to form the nodule. So I'll make a house for it. Okay, so nodule primordium is formed. Now what happens is when the infection thread reaches the specialized cells within the nodule, this tip is there, no? See the tip of the infectious thread? This tip fuses with the membrane, the plasma membrane of the host cell, releasing the bacterial cells. Okay, now it has fused and all bacterial cells are released. Okay, it fuses with the plasma membrane of the host cell. Who is my host? My host is my plant. Then it releases the bacterial cells that are packed in. Next, what happens is branching of the infection thread happens. Okay. So in branching, what happens is inside the nodule, now all your from the infection, you saw that the infection tip is fused with the plasma membrane and all the rhizobium are being released. Next step is the branching of this infection thread. It has to branch towards all. Okay. So in the branching step, what happens is the infection thread branches, enabling the bacteria to infect many cells. You produce many branches. Okay. So that it infects all the cells, how much ever possible. Next, what you will see is at first, there is a formation of, I told you, remember this word in last class I mentioned, bacteroids. B-A-C-E-R-O-I-D. Bacteroid. Okay. So, infection has started spreading. Okay. At the first, the bacteria continue dividing and the surrounding membrane increases the surface area to accommodate this growth by fusing the small vesicle. Whatever small vesicles are present, they start fusing, and then what you see is bacteroid being formed. Okay. Then soon after that, upon the signals from the plant, when it gets, the bacteria stops dividing and begin to enlarge. Now the signals the plant sends to the bacteria telling that it is sufficiently that you have branched, okay, and you have divided also. Now what you have to do is you have to enlarge yourself. So Under the instruction of the plant, the bacteria, what it will do is it will stop dividing and it will begin to enlarge and differentiate into nitrogen fixing endosymbiotic organelles called as nodules, or called as bacteroids. Okay, hopefully this is not confusing. See, it has branched now. Okay, now we are talking that how bacteroids are formed. At first, your bacteria will continue to divide and the surrounding membrane increases in surface area to accommodate this growth. Okay, when your bacteria is dividing, it requires space. So the surrounding surface area, what they do is they increase the spaces. How they increase? By fusing the smaller vesicles, whichever is present, they fuse and they enlarge the space. Soon thereafter, they receive a signal from the plant. The bacteria, on receiving the signal from the plant, the bacteria stops dividing and begin to enlarge. Okay, they have begun to hydrolysis. They have begun to enlarge now. And they differentiate into nitrogen fixing endosymbiotic organelle. Endosymbiotic means because they are present inside and they are having symbiotic or mutual relationship with the plant. And this is called as the bacteroids. So now what happens? The nodule develops the vascular systems. Okay, the vascular systems are produced. So what is the function? Once the bacteroids are inside the host root, now you saw this was the root, what I had drawn, root hair. Now here it has entered into the root and then it has enlarged itself, forming the root nodules. Now what is the function of the root nodules which is containing your bacteria? To fix the nitrogen. And what it fixes, how it fixes? With the help of nitrogenase enzyme. What is your function of the plant? The function of the plant is to supply the carbon source for the bacteria so that it can survive. And another important function is to see that it excludes oxygen. Okay, it excludes oxygen from the bacteria. It will see, you know that like hemoglobin, how it has been formed. It is a combination of the heme is produced by the bacteria and the globulin is produced by the plant, your root. So now your plant is producing carbon source. At the same time, it is providing carbon source. At the same time, it is providing oxygen barrier so that this oxygen does not interfere with the root nodule formation. And this is how the nitrogen fixation occurs. Before I shall wind up, I will give a quick recap how it is being formed. So till now, whatever I spoke about, everything is happening in the root. Where in the root means it is happening in the root nodules. So first what happens is, whenever your plant is not having sufficient amount of nitrogen being fixed in the plant, it sends a signal that is called as the chemical signals. And that signals are, for example, it is a flavonoid. Now there are so many bacteria which are present in the soil. Only some specific bacteria gets attracted to the flavonoid, which are very specific to that plant. And who determines the specificity means it is the lectin receptor which are present on the root hair. So exact conformational fixation will happen between the bacteria and the lectin receptors. So those who fit into it, they get anchored on the root hair. Now once the rhizobium gets anchored to the root hair, the NOD factor gets activated and it will activate all other NOD factors. Next, what happens is the plant NOD factors, they start curling the bacteria. So your root hair is curled. Okay, and then what happens? So then there is a degradation of the cell wall of the root hair. So what is happening here? What is the plasma membrane is present? So your bacteria will have an easy easily it can go and bind to the plasma axis. Okay, easy access to the plasma membrane it has. So the plant plasma membrane carrying your bacteroids, then it fuses with the Golgi membrane. Then it starts the infection thread. Now this is all your bacteria which are forming the infection thread. Meantime, what happens in the root cortex is the root cortex undergoes differentiation and cell division happens there. Now, once this infection bacteria reaches your root cortex, there the tip of this root infection thread fuses with the cortex and releasing all the bacteria. Now, what happens is the bacteria starts producing branches. Okay, it tries to infect how much of our cells which is possible. So now as the branching is formed, it gets a signal from the plant telling that rhizobium, it is sufficient amountly you have divided. Okay, now what you have to do is you have to enlarge yourself so that you form a root nodule. You enlarge so that you form a root nodule in the plant. This is the root and this is the nodule. So according to the signal, it tries to enlarge, and that is called as a bacterioid. Now who's present in the nodule? Your bacterioid are present. So from here is where the nitrogen fixation will occur, because this root nodule which is containing your rhizobium bacterioid, it has the nitrogenase enzyme to convert your dinitrogen into ammonia. Okay, so it is fixing, where what your plant does is, my plant, that is the leguminous plant, it is going to provide the carbon source to the nodule, and it will also see that it sees to that the oxygen doesn't come in contact with the nitrogenase enzyme. This is how by chemotatic attraction the rhizobium gets attracted to the plant. So we spoke about the nod genes. Nod genes are the one which are responsible for the formation of the nodules in the leguminous plant, and they are very host specific. So the nitrogenase enzyme can become active only in the presence of the NIF genes. If there is sufficient amount of nitrogen and ammonia present, then the NIF genes are switched off. By who? By NIF-L. No, there is no sufficient amount of fixed nitrogen, then you have to switch on your NIF-A. Who switches on your NIF-A is your RNA polymerase, NTRC-C. So this is the entire story about our leguminous plant and its interaction